I've spent the last 8 years coaching over 1,000 sales professionals, from SDRs making their first cold calls to enterprise account managers closing 7-figure deals. And here's what nobody tells you. 95% of what you learn in sales training, complete waste of time. But there are 5 skills, just 5, that separate the top 1% from everyone else. And I'm going to break it down exactly what they are and how you can master them starting today. But look, I didn't always know this. When I started in life science sales in Michigan, I thought it was all about an educated customer and product knowledge and fancy pitch decks and hitting people with features and benefits. I was dead wrong. 15 years ago, I walked away from a 6-figure salary in sales training and started working with companies global, from Fortune 50 to Fortune 500. And what I discovered changed everything about how I think about sales. The best salespeople, the ones pulling in millions a year, they're not doing more, they're actually doing less. Which brings me to the first skill, which is relationship prioritization. And I know what you're thinking, Mike, everyone talks about relationships. Yeah, they do, but they're doing it wrong. Here's the mistake most sales reps make. They focus on selling products and making quota. They're watching dollars and cents, having conversations about features and pricing and ROI calculators. But here's what the top performers understand. The relationship is the priority, not the sale, the relationship. Think about it like this. If you wanted to make friends with a new neighbor, you wouldn't just walk up to their door and immediately start asking them to buy something from you, right? You'd invest time. You'd learn about them. You'd find common ground. It's exactly the same thing in B2B sales. We just forget it because we're so focused on hitting our number. When I work with strategic accounts, we're talking about accounts that represent 50, 60, even 70% of a company's revenue. The first thing I tell them is stop selling. Start investing in the relationship. Because here's what happens. When you prioritize the relationship, when you genuinely understand their priorities, their goals, their challenges, the sales come naturally. They just do. I've seen this play out hundreds of times. One of my clients, a global logistics company, was getting deprioritized by their largest account. We completely reformatted their approach, focused purely on relationship building and understanding these customers' strategic priorities. 6 months later, $4 billion in sales opportunities. Year 2, another $8 billion in sales opportunities. That's the power of relationship prioritization. Skill number 2, brutal honesty. And that one's going to make you uncomfortable. Most salespeople are too optimistic. I know it sounds crazy. You need to be optimistic in sales, right? You're getting told no all day long. But here's the problem. That optimism bleeds into your strategy. And when it comes to qualifying deals, forecasting, and managing your pipeline, optimism is killing you. I see this time and time again. Reps have opportunities in their pipeline that were never real. They're spending weeks, sometimes months, chasing deals that were dead on arrival. I've worked with companies that have expensive proposal engines, solution engineering teams. They're investing 10, 20, and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in time and resources on opportunities that were never going to close. Why? Because the rep was too optimistic. They gave themselves the benefit of the doubt instead of giving the customer the benefit of the doubt. The top performers, they're brutally honest, almost pessimistic. They ask the hard questions early. Do we have access to the economic buyer? Is there a real problem we're solving? Do they have budget allocated? What is the actual timeline? Who else are they evaluating? And if the answers don't line up, they walk away. They lose fast, or better yet, they don't waste time on bad opportunities in the first place. This is about making good choices on where to invest your time, because your time is the most valuable asset. Skill number 3, deep customer knowledge. And I'm not talking about knowing their company website, their latest press release. I'm talking about knowing the non-public information, the conversations happening in the boardrooms, the problems keeping executives up at night, the internal politics. Here's what I tell my clients. You don't need to know them better than they know themselves. That's impossible, and frankly, it's arrogant. But you do need to know the inside conversations, the stuff they're not putting on LinkedIn, the challenges they haven't figured out how to solve yet. And the only way you're going to get that information, relationships. We're back to skill number 1. When you have strong relationships, you get access. When you have access, you get information. When you have information, you can bring real value. I'd worked with life science companies for over 40 years. One of the things we focused on relentlessly was understanding not just what the customer was saying publicly, but what they were struggling with internally. And when you can walk into a meeting and address a problem they haven't even articulated yet, that's when you become indispensable. The tactical way to do this: stop having sales conversations, start having business conversations. Ask about their strategic priorities, their market challenges, their growth plans. The information you need will come out naturally when you're genuinely curious and invest in their success. Skill number 4, meeting planning. And this is the smallest change that creates the biggest result. Most reps show up to their customer meeting with a generic agenda. Maybe they've got a PowerPoint deck they've used 100 times. They're going to walk through their full portfolio, show all their capabilities, give the standard pitch. That's lazy and it's ineffective. Top performers, they plan every single meeting like it's unique, because it is. They're asking themselves, who am I going to talk to? What's important to them specifically? What do I need to learn from them? What value can I bring? This conversation. Every meeting is different, even if you're talking to the same person you've talked to every year for a year. The context changes, their priorities shift, your approach should shift with it. Here's the tactical implementation. Before every customer meeting, spend 15 minutes planning. Write it down. What's the meeting objective? Key questions to ask. What's the value I'm bringing? What does success look like? That's it. 15 minutes of planning will immediately improve your credibility, your effectiveness, and your results. Because when customers see that you've actually prepared specifically for them, that you're just not running through your standard pitch, you're building credibility faster. Credibility leads to access. Access leads to information, and information leads to opportunities. It's all connected. And that brings us back to skill number 5, long-term thinking. This is the one that separates strategic account managers from order takers. Most organizations are too reactive. They're chasing the next deal, the next quarter, the next fire to put out. And I get it. There's a lot going on. There's pressure. You've got a quota. Your VP wants results. But here's the reality. If you're an organization with a 2 or 3 year sales cycle and you implement a new commercial strategy today, you're not going to see results for that on 2, maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe longer. The problem is most sales leaders don't last that long. The average tenure of a VP of sales is 18 months. So every time there's a new leader, there's a new direction, and nothing ever gets the time it needs to actually work. The top performers at the top organizations, they commit to a long-term approach. They understand that real growth, sustainable growth, takes time. When I work with strategic accounts, we're not looking at what we can close this quarter. We're looking at where we want to be in the relationship for the next 3 years, 5 years. Because when you take a long-term view, everything changes. You stop making short-term decisions that damage the relationship. You start making investments that compound over time. Think about it like investing. You wouldn't judge your retirement portfolio's performance based on 1 week. You're playing the long game. Sales is the same way. The relationships you're building today will pay dividends for years if you're patient enough to let them develop. So let's recap. These are the 5 skills that actually matter. Number 1, relationship prioritization. The relationship is the priority, not the sale. Number 2, brutal honesty. Be pessimistic about your pipeline. Qualify hard, walk away from bad opportunities. Number 3, deep customer knowledge. Know the inside conversations, not just the public information. Number 4, meeting planning. Every meeting is unique. Plan accordingly. Number 5, long-term thinking. Play the long game. Sustainable growth takes time. And here's what's interesting. These 5 skills all reinforce each other. When you prioritize relationship, you get deeper customer knowledge. When you have deeper customer knowledge, you can plan better meetings. When you can plan better meetings, you build stronger relationship. It's a flywheel, but it takes commitment. It takes discipline, and it takes a willingness to do things differently than everyone else. Now look, I know this is different from what you typically hear in sales training. There's no talk about objection handling scripts and closing techniques or the perfect cold call opener. That's because those things don't matter as much as people think. They're tactics. These 5 skills, they're strategies. And strategies beat tactics every single time. If you're a sales leader looking to transform your team's approach and troubleshoot what's currently going wrong, let's talk. The link's in the description, and thank you for watching. Now go build some real relationships.